What's poppin' world? I hope all is well. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that follow. Let's get into this. So I see a lot of people talking about marriage, talking about divorce, they're talking about men, they're talking about women, so on and so forth. Let me go ahead and say this. When it comes to marriage, you don't just jump from A to Z, right? A being the beginning, is Z being the to death do us part, right? A lot of times when people are going through things, or you see a man entertaining other women, or you see a woman entertaining other men, or people complaining, or whatever the case may be, you hear people say, "Oh well, no, they can't do this, they can't do that. It's to death do us part. They need to work it out. They need to figure it out." And the thing about it is this: if you're referencing the Bible in regards to marriage, or when you speak of it, you got to remember that Bible is a thick book. That Bible is a thick book, and it's full of context, right? It's full of context. So the thing about marriage is there are a lot of parameters. There are a lot of, I don't know if we want to call them guidelines, order, structure, so on and so forth, right? When it comes to marriage, right? Especially when you read through that Bible. Now, the thing is, there are expectations on both sides. A woman is expected to be a certain way, a man is expected to be a certain way. And whenever you go outside of those guidelines, all types of problems begin to happen. Now, you know, an analogy I would like to use is it's like you get the job, right? You get your dream job. You get the interview, and in the interview, you and your boss, you talk about how you guys agree how you're going to retire from that place, right? Now, let's just say on your first day of work, you come in and you go straight to the break room and hang out in the break room all day, right? And then your boss comes in and says, "Hey, man, we're about to fire you. You know, what's going on? You know, you ain't doing your job." And you say, "Well, no, we're in an interview. We agreed that, you know, I will retire from here." And they say, "Well, you didn't read the employee manual. Like you know, these are things that are expected of you as you are employed through us, right? We expect these things of you. You can't just come in and sit in a break room, and you go back to the, but I thought we agreed that, I would retire from here, right?" That's the same way I look at individuals when they're moving a certain way within a marriage and they get careless and they're not consistent. And then they say, "Oh no, but it's to death do us part." Remember, it's to death do us part. Again, you don't just jump from A to Z. There's a lot of things in between that you are supposed to do. So a lot of times when things start getting out of whack and out of order, you know, men get out of line, women get out of line. And you got a lot of people out here crashing out because they have a mentality of, "Oh, well, this death do us part. And no matter what, I got to deal with it. I got to sustain it. I got to suffer in silence. I got to take out my frustrations in all these ways. I got to turn to drinking. I got to turn to smoking. I got to turn to violence. I got to turn to all these other habits and things like that that aren't good for me." And a lot of people go down that path. And I got to turn to messing with people behind closed doors, but I'm going to stay married. See, it's a lot of issues when it comes to that. And we have to begin to sit down and address all the issues that go on with it. Both spouses need to sit down and talk about this stuff. And they need to ask themselves, and even if they bring in a third party, can this be resolved? Can we work through this? Can we fix this? If the answer is no, then hey, sure, first you can repent to God, but you may have to move on, and that's okay, right? And there are things in the Bible that I can allude to that kind of speak to a lot of this stuff, but it's okay. But a lot of people are bashing married men and women when they lose interest or whenever things go wrong within that marriage, and they say, "Well, it's time for me to move on, and I'm gonna start looking here or looking there." A lot of people are getting bashed. You know what I'm saying? And of course, there's a way to do it. Of course, you should leave first and dissolve of everything, and you go through the process, right? Of course, there's a way to do it. But to sit here and simply think that two individuals, they get married and it's like, "Oh well, whatever happens, we just gonna rock with it." That's not working, guys. That is not working. And it's time for somebody to call out and address it. But that way of doing things and that way of thinking, it is simply not working. Going through the motions, that is not working. We have to sit down and have the real conversations. Now, shout out to all the people who are happily married, successfully married, and are in healthy marriages and relationships, right? Shout out to them because it's good, because that's what I wish. I wish everybody would, bond with their person and do the rest of their life together, right? Perfect. Cool. But unfortunately, in a lot of cases, that's just not how it happens. And we've got to learn how to grow through these things and grow through life and have these relationships that lead to marriage and, live happily ever after while serving God. We got to learn how to do these things, but it's going to begin with having certain conversations. But you can't just jump from A to Z. You got to do the things in between. You got to be consistent. You got to meet those expectations. You got to know what's expected of you. You got to know the order, right? There's a way to do these things. But shaming these people, that's not it. It's time to go a little bit deeper and have the conversations. But we're going to keep going. That's all I got for this video. I love you all. Be blessed.